guys, being an immigrant is hard. Also, they don't tell you about the hurdles that you go through when you're trying to move from one country to another as a nurse. Let me share my story with you about how I came to the UK and how I became a nurse in the UK. While I do my makeup, I'm going to watch a movie on my own. So I need to finish this makeup in like 10 minutes. So we're just going to do a simple look while I tell you guys what I went through, some of the hurdles I experienced. So as you all know, I spoke in the other video, I came to the UK in 2022. Um, Initially, I don't even know, because I didn't really even plan to come to the UK. It's just something that happened like in 2021. My friend and I at the time decided to say, okay, we want to go abroad. We're tired of living in Zambia and we just want to go abroad. We're ready for like a change. We didn't even have a reason per se, but we're just like, okay, now we're ready. Now's the time. We just want a change of environment. So we decided to start the process. So I had heard about IELTS and I had heard about OET, but I didn't know which one to go for. So I met this girl that I used to work with and I asked her, I was like, okay, what are you doing? And stuff like that. So she explained to me, she said, there's IELTS and there's OET. OET is nursing stuff and IELTS is like just English, general English. And then she was like, oh, IELTS is actually harder than OETs. I was like, oh, okay, cool, 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 cool. So I decided, oh, I'm using this foundation stick in the shade 210. Really, really good. What's the name of this foundation stick? This says foundation stick. Okay. Anyway, so I decided to go for OETs because for me, I was like, okay, OET is easier and like, come on, someone has said me it's easier, so I'm just gonna do OETs and that's it for me. Boy, was I wrong. So I started tuitions with this man who actually told my friend OET and she passed. Also, I didn't give myself enough time because I started the lessons in October. And then I booked to write my OET for November. So it was like really quick and I didn't give myself enough time to study and prepare fully. So, mind you, at the time, there was no OET in Zambia. I don't know if they have OET in Zambia now. So we had to go to South Africa. So I booked my test, I booked my flights. I didn't even have a passport by then. So I had to apply for a passport. So it was like a lot going on at the same time. Um, before I even went to the South Africa to write my exam, guys, my boss at work calls me and they're like, okay, at the moment, I used to work for an NGO. They're like, okay, at the moment, we're cutting costs and stuff like that. So your contract won't be renewed. I'm like, how convenient. How convenient. When I'm supposed to write this exam, when I'm pushing to leave the country, and then now I'm going to lose my job. Guys, I was just going through a lot at that point, and I was getting like my last salary. I was like, okay, we've got faith. We want to leave this country. We're going to leave this country. We're going to get a new job. Let's just go. Went to South Africa, wrote my exams. The results came out and I felt so bad. I don't really remember the grades that I got. But I think I felt in reading because reading was like really hard. I remember I was really stressed during that time when I was writing my exam. So even when I was writing my exam, my reading exam, I got so nervous. I had to stop at some point. And then in OET, those that have written OET, they'll give you like 15 minutes to finish the first half. And that's like the easy part. And then they get the paper out. So I kind of panicked. So even when I left that exam, I knew I had failed that exam. So now I failed my exam. I don't have a job. I don't know what to do. And I'm in another city, living there. What do I do next? I don't have money. I'm not going to get on another plane and go and ride my my OET again. What do I do? So my friend at the time had written an IELTS and she had passed. I was just like, okay, you know what? Shemba, they say IELTS is hard, but baby girl, you don't have a choice. Start studying IELTS. Start studying for IELTS. That's the only thing you can afford at the moment. I'm not choosing foundation because I want to be really quick. I usually use the Christian Dior foundation. It's here somewhere. That's the foundation I use. If I want to use foundation, it's really good. You should try it. It's a matte foundation, but I'm not using it today. I started studying for my IELTS. I used YouTube. YouTube is like really, really helpful when it comes to stuff like that. So I used E2 languages, IELTS by Jay, I think. Jay was my favorite tutor. I think E2 languages have got like different tutors, but Jay was kind of like my favorite tutor. I think I used to understand better what he would teach. I also used Asad Yakub as well. So I started studying on my own, and then I also booked for my IELTS. I got the results because I wrote my OETs in December, and then I got my results in January, and then I was trying to process everything, get over the sadness that I was feeling at the time. And I was like, okay, now I've processed it enough. Now I can book my exam. So I booked it. And then I booked my IELTS for April. So that I had February, March in study. And then, what did I say? Study. And then April to write my exam. So lo and behold, we studied. I had this friend of mine that was also writing the IELTS. We were writing at the same time, so we studied together. We would ask each other, especially when it came to speaking, we would ask each other questions, and then we would just go through it together. Time came, we went to write our exams. Yo, the exam was so hard. That's what I told my people, don't give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. If you want something, go for it. So most people put the setting powder first. I like to put my pressed powder, my MAC pressed powder. This is the shade NC47. I feel it looks better for me when I do that way. So we went and wrote the exam. It was so hard for us. I remember me and my friend coming out. She was pregnant at the time. We were just like, what was that? What was that? Anyway, we're like, okay, we've written, there's nothing we can do. And imagine your friends are going, all your friends are going, and then you really want it, and then you're admiring your friends that have got it. Was a lot was happening at that time. And then I was staying in Lusaka, and then my parents were like, why are you even staying in Lusaka? Like, you have to pay rent, you're not working, and you're wasting money. You can use that money for something else. Given you want to go to the UK, save up your money. Because I was paying rent and stuff, and I wasn't working. So which means there was no money coming in, but there was money going out. I had saved, that was a good part. So I had enough money like to sustain me while I was there. So I decided to say, okay, let me wait for my results then. Move back home. Guys, the results came out. I got a 7 in writing, a 7.5 in what's that? How many are there? There's writing, reading, listening, and speaking, right? So I got, let me just say, overall I got a 7.5. I don't remember, but I got a 6.5 in reading. That's the one that I thought. I was shattered. I was nearly giving up. I was like, no, I'm not gonna continue doing this to myself. Like, I had enough. I can't keep on going through this. Thank God for my dad. God rest his soul. That man encouraged me. He was like, no, you're not a quitter. You are not going to give up. You're gonna try again. Like, I was like, no, I don't even have money. He's like, no, you're gonna try again. Pack up your bags. Let's go back home. That's how I packed up my bags and left Lusaka. I stayed in Lusaka at the time, and I moved back to Kirwe, where I decided to say, okay, this time I'm going to write my exams in Kitwe, because there was an exam center in Kitwe. They only had Kitwe, Lusaka, and Livingston. And the one in Kitwe was at Letchwe. I know it's secondary school or whatever. But yeah, that's where we're going to write our exams from. So again, start studying again for my IELTS. My face now with my banana powder, the loose banana powder. Yeah, so I booked my test for lecture, and the day came, and I went and I did my exam. I read my exam. I remember writing my exam. The day before I tried to study, I couldn't. I was just like, okay, no, let me get myself a drink. I've like tried so hard for this exam. If I fail, I fail, because I was nearly giving up. I had had enough. Like, I just couldn't take it anymore. I remember when writing the test, I was asking myself, I was like, are we ever going to go? Like, like come out with my friends, were like, are we ever going to go? Like, everyone is going. And then there's us who are like, we're just struggling. Why am I struggling with IELTS so bad? This is English. I shouldn't struggle that much with just English. So we wrote our exam, and then it was just a waiting game. And I started working part-time while I was in kids. I started working part-time with my, where my sister used to work with USN. I started working part-time there while I was just like killing time. I'd given up on everything. I didn't want a job. I didn't want nothing. Using this bronzer, and you want to use this kind of brush. I don't know what it's called, but it's kind of angled. I don't know if you can see. Yeah. So the results came out, and my friend called me. She was like, oh, the results are out, check. I remember I was at work. I was like, no, babes, I'm at work. I don't want to check. I have to drive myself home. I don't want to crash in anything, so leave me alone. She's like, no, just check. I'm like, no, let me reach home, then I'll check when I get home. That's how I go home. I drove home because I was scared. I didn't want to drive because I knew, because I was like so disappointed that many times. I was like, I can't be dealing with like another disappointment anymore. Like, I've had enough with this disappointment, That's how I got home, slept on the bed. Ate, actually. I was like, you need to eat first, baby girl. You need to, gonna add a little bit of blush. And yes, I do use my makeup palette as my blush. I'm not a professional makeup artist, so for me alone. yeah, so that's how I got my results. And this time around, when I checked, I had passed. I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, it's finally happening for me. It's finally happening for me. I'll believe it. Also, I did my lashes off camera because I'm really bad at doing lashes. So I had to do them off camera. Just gonna do some orange blush, some soft blush. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna use this eyebrow glue for my eyebrows. And then after I passed, I think it was like in my period, I think the devil was just working like really hard against me that period. Because tell me why, the minute I passed my exam, then they closed the CBT center in Zambia, and there was no way you could write CBT in Zambia. Because I was just like, my luck. All my friends wrote their CBT from Zambia, but for me, it was closed. So I had to write my CBT from Zimbabwe because that was the nearest place. Then I had to book, and the test centers in Zimbabwe were full at that period. I tell you. So for my lips, I'm using the Swag lipstick in the shade Accra. That's about to say occasion. Accra. So that's how I went to Zimbabwe. I'm gonna do my lips and I'll be back. I went to Zimbabwe, wrote my CBT. The CBT is a good part of that. You would get the results the same day. So we wrote our CBT exams and I passed my CBT. I was so happy. But CBT is like the easiest exam you're gonna write when going to the UK. I can assure you. Everybody's journey is different. Everyone went through something different. But if you've got any questions for me, you can just ask, and then fingers crossed, Zambia gets off the red list that it can be open for all, because I've got friends that I really want to come here. So I'm praying with you guys that it opens up soon.